Hi, I'm Robert Resch. Welcome to the Asurface show, where we share useful information for architects and developers, builders, designers, industry-related professionals, project managers. Here today, I've just come back from our factory overseas, and we're launching a new line of rigid LVT. This is supposed to resemble acacia wood. And I wanted to talk very quickly about the trend in the market moving somewhat away from traditional dry-back glue-down LVT and moving to rigid LVT. We're seeing global sales of rigid LVT increasing rapidly. It's not to say there isn't still a market for dry-back. I mean, dry-back has its uses and you know, its places, but rigid is really moving ahead. So what is it, and why should you consider using it? First, let's talk about what it is. Rigid LVT is a stone composite core. It's a stone polymer composite core using stone dust, polymers. It's very rigid, very tough, and can go over almost any surface. It still has a traditional print film like LVT, still has a traditional wear layer and UV coating on the surface to maintain scratch resistance and whatnot. And it's more expensive than dry-back LVT. But let's walk through a quick hypothetical, and I think this is where we can really find the value. Ballpark pricing, okay? Ballpark pricing, somewhere between $1.80 and $2 a square foot for a 12 mil, 4.5 millimeter with 1.5 millimeter of IXPE, that's closed cell soundproof backing. Okay, this whole system can be purchased for $1.85 to $2 a square foot for a floating Valange clip system. 12 mil dryback LVT, 2.5 millimeter, let's say, somewhere in the neighborhoods, $1.25, $1.30 a square foot. So let's just say 60, 70 cents more expensive for the rigid LVT. So why wouldn't you just use this? Well, if you're doing a multifamily project and you have sound issues, you need to use padding, you don't have a perfect floor, you've got to do self-leveling, then the cost to put this down is going to increase. Your padding, let's say 40, 50 cents a square foot. You got to put adhesive down to glue the padding to the floor. You got to glue the LVT to the padding. It's double labor. You're increasing your labor costs. So this ends up being considerably more expensive than this. This, you come in one time. It's got the padding built in. You don't have to self-level the floor. Maybe some minor floor prep. Say your labor is $1.50, $2 a square foot. You're at $3.80 a square foot to put down a very rigid, durable, solid LVT program. I think this is the future. We're seeing it in bathrooms now. We're seeing it in kitchens. If you pull this up, if you have a flood situation, you can pull it up, dry it off, put it back down on the floor. If you're an apartment developer, you're designing an apartment project, some of the concerns have often been, well, with a dryback LVT, I can just pull up a piece in the middle of the room and replace it. However, if you have padding down, the padding's glued to the floor, you've got to cut the padding out, you've got to repatch the padding in, then you have to glue down the LVT back on the padding. With this, typically, you pull away from the wall to the damaged piece and then reinstall. However, you can cut out the valance, you can pull the piece out much like you would do with a traditional hardwood or with a floating hardwood floor. Okay, so I'm very passionate about this, and I'd like to recap. Dryback LVT, and you need to use sound. You have some sort of soundproofing need, or you have some type of self-leveling with soundproofing. Initially, you chose this great option, cost-saving option. So, layer 1, you glue the pad. Layer 2, you come back, you glue the LVT to the pad. This system, you run it straight from the floor, padding is attached, and you're done. One step. It's a great option to consider when you don't have a perfect environment. Thanks for tuning in. If you'd like more information, you'd like a dryback ALVT binder, demonstrates our color options, or if you'd like a rigid chain set, you can look, feel, check out the wear layer we offer. Click the button below. We'll get one out to you right away. Thanks for tuning in.